If you lied on your 4473, you'd be heading to prison. If you smoked cocaine and did it publicly, you'd be headed to prison. If you did them both at the same time, you'd really be heading to prison. But under the Biden crime family network, if you're in favor with the party in power, none of that matters. Guys, watch this video and join the fight. Hey guys, Aaron Dorr here. For hundreds of years, what has made America the greatest country on earth, besides our Christian faith and besides our right to keep and bear arms, has been our judicial system. In America, since the day of our founding, you could not be prosecuted unless there was probable cause that you actually committed a crime. In America, you could never go to prison unless you were convicted in a court of law by a jury of your peers where your due process rights were protected. And in America, the justice system always cared about what you actually did, not who you actually knew. And those three things, those three principles is what has made America's justice system a beacon on the hill for oppressed people around the world who found themselves on the wrong side of their country's political leaders and then were put in prison because they were political opposition. It has never been that way in America. We have always had a system of reasonable checks and balances, and our legal system was wrapped around those three main tenets. But you and I are living now in a different America. We are now in a different time. And now the Biden crime family is running the show in America right now. And we are seeing the devolving in real time before our very eyes of what has always been a very respectable justice system that has ruled things here in courts of law. Now, for a long time, we've been talking to people about the weaponization of law enforcement, about the double standard that exists between those in favor with the government and those who are out of favor with the government. And there's been some people who have said, "Oh no, this is not a big deal. This is not as bad as you think it is. You're overinflating the concern," things of that nature. But I think everybody who thought that has had a gut check in the last couple of weeks, because what we have seen with Hunter Biden has put an end to anybody who can sit there and rationally say that there is no longer a double standard in America. Let's kind of back up here for a few minutes. You know, since Joe Biden got in the White House, the DOJ and all of their agencies, ATF, FBI, IRS, all of them have been declaring a war against Biden's political opponents. We have seen for years now, peaceful pro-life leaders' homes invaded by FBI SWAT teams at 5 o'clock in the morning with guns in the faces of minor children screaming for their father. We have seen gun shops raided for a surprise random audit. Guys who've been selling guns for decades, having their gun shops raided just because they want to do a random audit of their firearms. We have seen gun owners have ATF agents literally knock on their door and say, "We're here to inventory your firearms and make sure you still have the guns you bought, you know, two years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago." All of this is designed to intimidate political opposition. Because who is it who doesn't like the Biden administration? Pro-lifers, gun owners, conservatives in general. And so what we're seeing now is an absolute weaponization of our law enforcement agencies against Biden's political opposition. And again, there might still be some holdouts out there who would say, "Oh, they must have done something. It must not have been as bad as all that." But then in the last couple of weeks, we have seen what happens when an actual criminal actually admits what they did, and we have seen the Biden double standard come into play. Again, Hunter Biden is a case study in this. Here is a guy who for years the left has said, "Oh, he did nothing wrong. This is part of a GOP witch hunt. This guy is not guilty of anything." And about 2 weeks ago, he admits in legal documents that he is a cokehead. He admits he's committed multiple acts of tax evasion, and he admitted that he committed an absolute felony crime by lying on his 4473 form when he bought a handgun several years ago. The guy didn't even try to hide it. He writes in his book how he was addicted to cocaine for all of these years, and during that same time, he bought a gun, and on that form, he said he is not addicted or an unlawful user of illegal narcotics. Now, if you had done that, or if I had done that, we both know what would have happened. We would have been sent to prison for years. Recently, the ATF did a press release. In fact, I'm going to read you from quotes. This is from the Oklahoma City field office. This was January of this year. And the agent in charge had a great big press conference entitled "Aggressively Pursuing Those Who Lie in Connection with Firearms Transactions." You're going to see it right now on the screen. And he says, this is U.S. Attorney Robert Troster. Maybe he got his name wrong, whatever. He says, keeping guns out of the hands of those who shouldn't have them is of paramount concern. Here's the best part. We will use the tools available to us to pursue those who use a straw purchaser or lie when they buy a gun. It's a no tolerance. It's a zero tolerance policy. Anybody who lies on their form will be prosecuted. Anybody who engages in a straw sale will be prosecuted. And this form comes with it right there in black and white, 4473. This carries a 10-year federal prison sentence. So if you lied on your 4473 and you said, I've never used cocaine, I'm not addicted to it, I'm not a user of it, at the exact same time, you're openly posting photographs of you smoking cocaine, you would be in prison. You would be in prison, and not for a short time either. But again, in the Biden White House, or should I say under the Biden crime family, there's a double standard now, because if you are on the right and you're one of the opposition opponents to the Biden crime family, yeah, you'd be in prison. But if you're on the favored side of the Biden crime family, the rules do not apply. There is most certainly a double standard. So Hunter Biden pleads guilty, as I said, to being a cokehead, to lying on his 4473, and for multiple counts of tax evasion. And how many days in prison do you think he's going to serve? I'll wait. I'll let you guess. Exactly. 0 days in prison. Hunter Biden has pled guilty, and he's going to enter what's called a pre-trial diversion program, where he'll probably pick up some trash in a ditch or do some kind of community service or pay a fine or something like that. And he's going to serve not a single day in prison for committing multiple felony crimes. So if there's anybody out there who still believes that we have an impartial justice system, we simply don't. We simply don't. We live under the era of the Biden crime family. And if you are on the political right sphere, you're an enemy to that order. If you're on the left side, you are a friend to that order, and you'll be protected. Now, what does this mean when it comes to gun rights? Why does this matter to gun owners who are trying to stop gun control across the country in Congress or in state capitals? Well, the answer is very simple. If the Biden crime family is this blatant now, if they will invade pro-life leaders' homes at 5 a.m. and put machine guns in the faces of minor children, if they will raid gun owners' homes or gun shops trying to do a surprise audit of their firearms, if they'll come to your door as ATF agents and ask to come into your home and inspect your property, inspect your firearms now, how do you think they're going to operate down the road if America loses our right to keep and bear arms? We all know what's going to happen. We'll be facing an absolute tyrannical government with no means of defending ourselves. It is that simple. That's why I began the video by saying, after our Christian faith and our right to keep and bear arms, those are the two things that have made America the greatest country on earth, and everything else follows from that. I mean that. If we lose that second tentacle, the right to keep and bear arms, we will, all of us, be facing tyranny at a scale that we could not possibly imagine in this country. However, it's not hard to imagine. All you have to do is read a history book and look around the world today or the previous centuries to see what happens when a tyrannical government has control of the people because the people have been disarmed. It's not pretty. We all know that. And over 100 million citizens last century alone were exterminated by their own governments. Now, again, there could be some people who are watching saying, oh, come on, you're being ridiculously sensational. This is crazy. This is not going to happen in America. Relax. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not sure what more it would take to convince somebody. If I had told you 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago, that we would have a sitting president, right, use the power of government to indict his chief political rival, in this case, President Trump, you would have laughed at me. You would have said, that's absurd. We're not some kangaroo court. We're not some banana republic. This is America. That could never happen here. And it is right now in real time. Now, you might say, you know what? I think Trump is guilty. You know what? That isn't the point. That isn't the point. You might think Trump is guilty. You might think he's innocent or somewhere in between. The point here is the double standard and the weaponization of law enforcement. Because if we had an honest system, Hunter Biden would be headed to prison for years. And if we had an honest system, we could trust that President Trump would get an honest day in court, and maybe he's found guilty, maybe he's not. But that's not the point. The point is we have lost our independent judiciary. We now have a kangaroo court run by the Biden crime family, and anybody who opposes that order is on the wrong side of this justice system. That is the point. And again, in conclusion, if we ever lose our right to keep and bear arms, what we are seeing right now will pale in comparison to what awaits us. So remain engaged in this fight, guys. If you're not yet a member, become a member today. Hit the link below and join up, or donate if you are a member. We must stay involved in this fight. History is very clear. Unarmed people become serfs who are unable to defend against their own government when they turn on them. It happens throughout history. It can and will happen here if we lose our gun rights. We're going to fight to stop that, both in the state capitol and in Congress and the courts. Guys, we need your help, though. Join the fight, hit the links below, and share our video.